I think this has a really good probability of being the direction that Chris Nolan is taking, or at least the premise that's building out his next film. So for
Yeah.
people don't know yet, there was some news recently about, well, actually just a couple days ago, about two small facts about his
Okay.
next film. All right. So the film is going to be released July 17th of 2026. Reports say that the filming for this next movie will probably start early next year, so early 2025,
25,
in
which
just a
means
few months, right?
yeah, which means the script is either fully finished now or they're
Mhm.
making their final edits to the script.
Correct. And so this is probably something he's been working on for over a year at this point.
Mm.
And this is not new news, but it is for people who don't know. It will be starring Matt Damon. He's the only actor who's reportedly on the cast list at this point. That's public.
Mhm.
Which is interesting. We've talked many times about how the reusing of actors,
Mhm.
and you'll see an actor in a Chris Nolan film
As a
be
smaller
like as a smaller role for like 2 or 3 movies, and then they become the lead in one of his movies. So like Cillian Murphy was a secondary actor for like 7 or 8 movies, you know what I mean? Or
yeah.
that's an exaggeration, but he was in quite a few, and then Oppenheimer became his leading man role.
Do you
Um,
see do you see Florence Pugh, kind of while we're on this topic, Florence Pugh being that character? You think he's going to go the female route some with any of his roles coming up?
yeah, I don't know. I have it's really hard to say. I'm gonna be honest. I think he writes in a way that is more. He has a lot of women characters, but do you know of any film that the lead is a woman that he's done?
No, I mean, no.
And so I think since he's a man, he tends to write a story from a man's character's perspective. Not to say that he won't. It very well could be the very next film he does as a leading woman, but up to this point, he has
I
a lot
mean,
of strong
all of his
second leads.
yeah, all of his roles have a lead woman. They're just not the main lead. They're always the
Yes,
secondary character or um oh yeah, basically the secondary character, which is
right.
they're a very important character, just not the main person.
Right. In The Dark Knight Rises, you had Anne Hathaway that's the same for Anne Hathaway in Interstellar. In Inception, you had Paige in The Prestige. It's kind of the third character,
Scarlett
but you had
Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson, exactly. So he always has a woman second lead in there. It's just a matter of, are they going to be the protagonist of the story? I don't know. So let's go ahead and jump into kind of the main
Yes.
areas that I want to theorize a little bit. I want to take a look at this video and this interview that he did and see if it clues us in as to what the topic, or at least the premise, the ideas surrounding his next film might be. All right. And tell me after watching this, or share your thoughts if you have them. Here we go.
Popcorn. My team and I had fun asking an AI, ChatGPT, to come up with the title and synopsis of a movie in the style of Christopher Nolan. We'll see what that means.
Nexus in a futuristic society controlled by artificial intelligence. That's a very vain for an artificial intelligence to come up with. A rebellious hacker discovers the existence of a secret network that links all human minds, the Nexus. As he plunges into this complex virtual world, illusion and reality merge, putting his life and the fate of humanity at risk. He must find the core of the Nexus to save humanity from the relevant script of the AI. Complete, we say in English, cobblers, because, total nonsense.
So it's like he tried and take a few things of a few of your movies and did a mashup, and just a weird thing came out.
Yeah, completely.
We also tried doing like a poster, which was okay, but more looked like a comic book poster than a real movie. Do you feel inspired by those? I'm not sure.
No.
Okay, so they do this little bit where like they're joking around about the idea of using AI to kind of build out a story.
Nexus.
All right, so he didn't like it, but let's see as he gets into the AI conversation what he has to say. Okay.
Not massively inspired, no. Other than, I mean, AI it's an issue that you know, as a Writers Guild member, my union is dealing with right now. You know, and I talk to a lot of AI researchers these days, and right now, they see this moment in time as their Oppenheimer moment. They refer to it as that because they're looking to his story to say, okay, we're about to unleash this very powerful technology on the world, and what about the unintended consequences? What do we do about that? But what I find encouraging about the uses of AI in the artistic realm is I think they're going to be powerful tools, but ultimately there's no replacing human creativity. And these models and the way in which they process information, they're all based on human creativity from the past.
So there is human creativity here. And also, that's something in Oppenheimer, of course. You chose to not use CGI.
Yes.
Is there
All right, so he gets into like more of the reason he doesn't use CGI in films.
Mhm.
However, when he talked about the idea of, he's been talking to a lot of AI researchers lately, right? And so it makes me think, and then he's also kind of equating it to thinking about it from his last film. And if you've heard Christopher Nolan interviews or hear him talk, he kind of goes from like he writes scripts or picks his story based on what he's like currently in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he read, the reason he did Oppenheimer is because he was reading what is the movie, American Prometheus or something like that. It's
I'm not familiar with that one.
I can't. It's hard for me to remember the name, but the Oppenheimer story is based on his film is based on a book, right?
Oh,
And
I see.
and so he's kind of makes stories and leans into what he's involved with, what he's thinking about, what he's researching. So if he is talking to a lot of AI researchers, I think, and just kind of, he seems to be right there. Like he has
Yeah.
thoughts about AI, right there. And so it seems like something he's been mulling over. He's been thinking
Yeah.
through. He's been crafting a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, definitely AI is on the forefront of what he's thinking and dealing with. I'm curious because this is kind of in topic, but a little bit off. Not Oppenheimer. Christopher Nolan
Mm-hmm.
makes original movies, but he also does. They are original movies, but they're already established concepts, like Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was a person. He just kind of made a story about his life. Batman. Batman was already a comic. He just kind of made a story about his life. It's not an original idea. Then he has things like Tenet, Inception,
Prestige.
yes,
Right.
original ideas that are
Mm-hmm.
his. I'm curious if he kind of is in this mode of original idea, not really original idea, just so he can kind of like, it takes him a while to come up with his original ideas. And if that's true, I mean, Oppenheimer, yes, he wrote the script and there was a lot
Mm-hmm.
he had to come up with. The story itself is already established story. So
I think creatively, I think he kind of goes back and forth, and so I think definitely the next film will be an original idea. I
yeah.
do think the next existing idea he makes a film about, I think he's going to eventually do a James Bond because
Oh, yeah.
he's already said many times that's like something he really would love to do is James Bond.
Mhm.
And so I think he might do a James Bond story, and that'll probably, at least my best guess, would be his next existing idea film. I think his third film that's going to be coming out in
I don't know that
2026
if
will be an
if he
original
wants to do a
idea.
James Bond, he's got to get on it fast because we've been talking about the next James Bond for a minute now. And if
I
this
don't
movie
know.
doesn't come out till 2027 and then it takes him a little bit, he takes a small break between films. By the time he gets to James Bond, James Bond's not coming out till 2029, maybe even 2030.
Is there
And
another James Bond that's currently in production or in development?
not in development, but there is in talks. We've been talking about this for a while on our podcast
I
with
think
who's going to be the next James Bond.
I think
So,
look, you're right. We've been talking about it, but I think it's going to sit for a while now that they finished the Daniel Craig James Bonds.
mm,
I think it's going to just sit there for a while, probably 5 to 8 years. I think there's not going to be a James
that's a
Bond
long
pop up.
time.
And
That's
I
a
think
long
Chris
time.
Nolan will be the one who picks it up. That's what I think.
I could see him doing a James Bond, but that's a long time. I'm just saying that's a long
Imagine
time
if
away.
he got Henry Cavill to do James Bond or something crazy like that. I don't know. Henry Cavill might be way too
Nah.
tall. I think James
Yeah.
Bond needs to be a bit shorter. But that would be pretty. I think whoever he would get for a James Bond would be pretty amazing. Now, there is more of this interview. It's like this sort of a section of the interview where he did rapid fire questions,
Yeah.
and this will clue us in a little bit, at least give us little glimpses as to like what's not on the horizon, what he might be thinking about, and just some other areas outside of that. Okay, so let's listen to some of these rapid fires.
It's another timer. Basically, I will ask you a series of questions, and the idea is to answer yes, no, or just pass if you want to pass. Are you ready?
Oui.
Let's go. Will you still be making movies in 10 years?
Yes.
Could you make a TV show one day?
No.
Do you think there's life elsewhere in the universe?
Pass.
After Batman, do you want to direct another superhero movie?
No.
Will AI destroy humanity?
No.
Do you still refuse to have a smartphone?
Yes.
Which I got to pause it there. Will AI destroy humanity? He's like, no. It's literally something that he's grappled with, thought about, which is more indications that he has a very specific opinion, and he's probably building a script around that opinion, around that concept, around that worldview with AI.
I don't know.
Right?
He seemed kind of. It almost seemed like an interviewer is pushing this AI concept on him. I don't know if it's his idea right now. I think it's
No, but
the
in the
interviewer.
previous bit, he shared a lot of ideas around
Yeah,
AI, and
AI.
he was so matter of fact about it. I think he's thinking about AI in a very deep way, and unless it's just a personal endeavor, I think he might be thinking of it for storytelling purposes, right?
Maybe.
So let's keep going.
Are you afraid of death?
Yes.
Could you have a TikTok account?
No.
Well, if you don't have a smartphone, it's not easy anyway. Is Interstellar your favorite movie in your filmography?
Pass.
Would you like to make a Star Wars movie?
Pass.
Is music the most important thing in a movie?
No.
Is it okay to eat while watching a movie?
Yes.
Is it okay to watch movies on smartphones or laptops?
Yes.
Do you play video games?
No.
And maybe one last one. Does a big budget film have a higher chance of being a good film?
No.
You can take more time if you want to answer this one.
The relationship.
So if you guys want to watch more of this interview, you should check it out. Just look up like Chris Nolan interviews. It's one of the top that comes up on YouTube. But with some of that, did that feel like it clued you in at all to kind of where his mind is? Interesting. He's not doing another superhero franchise.
No.
He said pass on the Star Wars thing. I honestly think he probably would do it, but he's probably not going to want to do it with Disney Star Wars right now, right?
Yeah, definitely not. It would have to be original idea.
Yeah.
He's saying pass on a superhero movie, which
No, he said no to a superhero movie. He said no.
okay, no to a superhero. That's what I meant by pass. But I am thinking James Bond, although he's not a superhero,
He's not.
but he has very much superhero elements in his movies. Of the spy concept is being used a lot. I don't know if he wants to go to James Bond. I don't think he would, but that's not what you're arguing for.
He said so clearly in many interviews, like he would love to do James Bond. We know that's not going to be his next film for sure, because why would you pick Matt Damon to be James Bond? You wouldn't. But he's clearly wanting to do James Bond, and I think he will end up doing it. I just don't think it'll be his next film. It may not even be his, 2 films down the road, but I think he will do it. It's not a superhero film.
Yeah.
But he did say, will you be directing films in the next 10 years? And he said yes.
Wouldn't that be crazy if he did make an AI-based movie and Matt Damon is going to be in it, but Matt Damon is going to be another biopic where Matt Damon is playing Elon Musk.
My goodness.
That'd be fun.
Nah, I don't think he's that out there. It's always very serious concepts. And if we're being honest, he just came off of Oppenheimer, perfectly timed, where there's so much talk in the world of the fear of nuclear weapons again. It's almost perfectly timed. And then with AI on the rise, and as it has been, in the next 2 years, we will probably see an absolute explosion of what AI will look like in our everyday life more than it is
Oh,
now.
yeah,
And
definitely.
so in 2 years' time, or a year and a half, in 2026 summer, it very well may be perfect timing for an AI concept, original idea, story, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to present, and I'm going to go this far. I believe in this so much. I'm going to say the message of the film is probably going to be dealing with the idea of fear, or acceptance of AI. And it's not a new idea, but I think he's going to be digging into it in a deep way that we haven't seen before. And I think the end message, if he doesn't leave it open ended, will probably end with, we do not need to fear AI, but here are the caveats, right? There's always a nuanced answer in the messaging of his movies, and the journey that we're taken on with the characters. And so I think with his answer there, like, do you think AI will destroy the world or something? No. I think he has a pretty clear idea and understanding of what AI will do, and I think he has a really strong theory about what the future of AI and humans will look like.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see when it gets a little bit sooner. Leave it in the comments what you guys think.